So greetings, everyone. Welcome to the first session of called The Whisperers, the first session for the Time of the Writer. I'm joined by my colleagues Kgaogelo, Lekota and Lerato, Seohatse, and we're going to offer you a very brief, short burst of writing. So we've got 15 people. That's wonderful. I can't see you all, but everyone's there, right? Okay. So in this session, we want you to have a brief foray into some place that you would like to remember. It's a short burst of writing. I'm going to give you two quotes from Dennis Hershen, who's been in the country recently launching this book. And he said some very beautiful things about writing and remembering. One is that writing is always a somewhere else. I think we need that because we've got so much going on around us. Take this opportunity. It's very short, and you'll need to write during the exercise and during this session to be somewhere else. Writing is always a somewhere else. And then the second quote from him, does the sea have a single shore? I think most of us will be exploring a memory we want to remember and realize that it's not a single memory, it's just this one short foray in there. I'm hoping you're all there. And Bash, I think we can start. So think of a place that you would like to remember. Could be a home, a school, a room, just some place that's a murmuring memory in your mind. Think of maybe three that you might choose, and then choose one. Have that one in your place so that you can write about it. With any luck, we're also going to be joined by somebody from the Black Tar Lines collective in Ghana. And when we do this workshop, the prompts you can write, but you can also draw. And I suspect, I don't know, but the artists from Black Tar Lines might be drawing into response to this prompt. The idea for this workshop comes from, I suppose, after COVID and wanting to go back to places. And one trigger for me is a childhood memory. I memorized poems as a child. I come from the UK, and this particular poem is in my mind, and I remember quite strongly. Let me read it to you, and let's see if it can also invite you to go back into some place in your past that you'd like to return to. It's called The Listeners by Walter de la Mare. Is there anybody there, said the traveller, knocking on the moonlit door, and his horse in the silence champed the grasses of the forest's ferny floor. And a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveller's head, and he smote upon the door again a second time. Is there anybody there? He said. But no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men, stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf neath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder and lifted his head. Tell them I came, and no one answered, that I kept my word, he said. Never the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone. So think of your own place which has a surging silence. Think of some place that you want to write about. In this exercise, we'll all write together. up until 9:30. We'll do some guided prompts. At 9:30, you'll be in breakaway rooms with myself or Kgaogelo or Lerato to read through what you've written. At 9:45, we come back. In the writing, don't censor what you write. I promise you don't have to read things aloud. Just take this as an opportunity to dream on paper, to go back to whatever place you feel like going back to. You don't need to share. The way that you write can be in words or it can be verbally. And to tell you the truth, the prompts are optional too. If you just want to keep writing, that's fine as well. What matters is that you don't try too hard. Open up those spaces in your head and see what's there. The prompts I'm going to put in the chat. And by the way, you're also welcome to use the chat. Here are the prompts. I'm just going to see if there's something else I should check up there. So think about this place. The prompts are going to be, oops, there we go. First of all, returning to it, writing down all your first thoughts. The second one is describing in detail a person whom you associate with that place. The third, an object or scene with relevant sensory description. The fourth, a voice connected to that place. And the fifth, a short memory connected to that place. And then lastly, read through and note any questions, insights, or hidden thoughts. As you can see, it's in the chat. And I'm also going to give you, as an example, my attempt at doing this yesterday. So the first one, this is what I wrote. Return, that's the first thoughts. Train windows, Borough Green, West Malling, East Malling, Barming, nearly there. Suddenly the river, its anchoring bend, the road to school, so close. She will be running down the hill, past the place where child granny pushed child grandpa into the long gone pond, over the high level path to meet the incoming train. Train doors open and there, second, the person. She spends long hours looking at the garden through the window. What does she think as she watches the washing on the line, the cat asleep in the sun? There is lots to do, lots to shop, who wants what and where is a bargain. The bust, waist and hip sizes of several women are kept on a nice little card in her bag. No telling when you will find the perfect thing. In the bedroom upstairs hangs a whole collection of finds waiting to be tried on. When is she coming? I want a fashion show. Don't pull a face, try them on. Third one, scene. Kitchen with the white orchids growing on the windowsills, steaming up the glass, extending their finger roots in the hope of life-giving mist. You are beautiful, she said. We know, they replied, and lift their faces to the light. Voice. You will never come back, will you? Perhaps you should freeze one of your eggs. Why don't you wait and watch outside the British Library? Some interesting men there. You're probably the closest person in the world to me. Talk like that and nothing will stop you. Those are fragments, but hopefully in her way of speaking. Memory. Looking out of the window, she saw them under the fruit trees, sitting a companionable distance apart, heads bowed over a newspaper, working on the crossword. As she watched, their colors faded. And then lastly, reading through, questions, hidden thoughts to follow. I thought to try to decenter, to imagine her life through her eyes and memories, not tied to mine. What were her secrets? Bring in the humor. I like describing the orchids. So that was my go. Good, and we're on time. So now we have 20 minutes and I'd like us all to write together. So you need pen, paper, or some way in which you can write. I'm glad to see there are 18 people there. I'm sorry we can't greet you all because the time is short, but let's write together. Think of that place you want to return to. Maybe choose 3, think of 3 and then choose 1. That's the way I usually do it. Think of that one place you want to return to, write it down. And then the first prompt, and we'll have 3 minutes per prompt, write down all the first thoughts you have about that place. as you heard in my example, what I did was the train coming backwards. So it could be that, some sort of return to that place, or your first thoughts about that place. And we'll all write together for the next 3 minutes. Finish up your thought. Second one, describe in detail a person whom you associate with that place. Finish up your thought. Third one, write about an object or scene and try and include as many details as possible, particularly sensory. An object or a scene that you associate with that place. Right, next one, number 4. Finish up your thought. Try and capture a voice. Think about how someone spoke in that place. And the key to this one is that don't think about what you're going to say, but just try and capture the way that they spoke. Finish your thought. 5th prompt. Think of a memory, any memory, a short nutshell memory of something that happened there, and outline it, write it down. Finish up your thought. Now go through what you've written and mark things that you think are interesting. And for the sixth prompt, write down any questions, comments, or thoughts about what might be hidden here, what you might write more about. finally, I can see everyone. That's really good. Because before it was just a blank screen. So I'm glad to see everybody. Good. Hi, Rachel. All right.
Hey,
Good. Okay. All right. So we just have 15 minutes left. So from each group, there can be either a little bit of reading or a little bit of discussion about what happened in that group. So is everybody there? It's quite difficult seeing a whole room this way, but I'm having a go. Kgaogelo, could you lead with saying something from your group or getting people to read a little bit, or yourself?
Or myself. I think we had a nice little chat about the process of writing and how writing in this short bursts sort of gives you the freedom to explore. And I guess I'd leave the rest to some of the group members to volunteer to read their stuff for 2 minutes or so.
I don't mind reading mine.
Cool.
Yeah, so I wrote a little poem. Soft. Late nights, cooks are stirring our legs, pulling closer on your pillow, flighty fingertips tracing my face, my spine, my hips, lightly linking, caring, discovering your calluses, your scars, your skin tags, your dark spots, lullabying my restlessness with your stories of lakes and cracked earth under your childhood hardened heels, snuggling into the divot between your shoulder and neck, removed from my worries and pressures, soft and safe, sung to sleep by your snores.
Lovely. So another person is a place, love from a place. Very nice.
Cook Sister in the lake. What a fantastic image.
Yes, please speak up, everyone. We don't need to be muted, and put anything you want in the chat. That was lovely. Thank you, Laurie Jo, for taking us somewhere cuddly.
It's just funny because, you know, with the title Whispers and like later it's Hauntings as well in the series. And I was thinking of like how like scenes like this also haunt me in a strange way. Yeah.
In a lovely way. We enjoyed that.
No.
Yeah. Very good. How is there someone else from your group that you would nominate or would volunteer?
I'd prefer people to nominate themselves. If there's no one else, I suppose I'll have a go in 2 seconds. Okay, I think I'll go. Okay. The naked mist walks down Devil's Peak. It speaks in soft song, murmuring, "I'm coming for you, fam. I walk stop, and right here where I stand in seconds, it is everywhere. I'm left with myself on the side road to Groteskir, next to the highway to Heaven's Door. I'm standing at the Hell's Death Knell in shape-shifting quicksand still. Jesus, I could do with a beer right now. The naked mist breaks tiny cold orange droplets, draping its wedding gown. It frowns in long drawn breaths. I break down and drown my eye with the gray sky. Up and down the main and the little main road, my mind is in observatory. As my shoulders cling on to the wet kisses on my windbreaker, my mind is in observatory, looking for the password to Heaven's Door, the dark tavern that exists behind the iron gate. My savior by the park, where art thou? In earnest, I ask. I stand still. In the end, in the sand, it is a matter of death after life. Jesus, I still could do with a cold beer right now. That's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's pretty good writing for this short little exercise. Very lovely.
Thank you.
Anyone, last one from Chaos group? And you can put any comments you like in the chat. This should actually be sort of open discussion now. or reactions. All right.
I love that interplay you had between heaven and hell, and not sure if you're talking about like actual places or if it's like metaphorical. Like I love that. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Right. So from Lerato's group, anyone? Or anyone last person from Kgao's group that would like to give anything? All right. Lerato, your group.
Yes, anyone who wants to read a passage, not everything, it doesn't have to be everything, but a passage. You have Veen, yes.
You're dominating.
Thanks, Vina. Thanks, Vina.
Thanks, Lerato. So this could possibly be a children's book for me, and it's based on a story when I was about 9-10 years old, around about that age. So it's quite interesting going back to the emotions and my memory of what I remember. The title of the book is The House That Jack Built. So the main character is my father. The main character will, of course, be my own father. He is Jack. He carried so much command. Every morning he would wake up the house, quite disciplined when I look back. He was like directing the choir, buying of materials, lunch arrangements, sourcing this and that which was required. I was with him on most of these expeditions. And of course, my dear mom was there besides him. So I focused on the person. But yeah, the memory just comes back, and the other characters is my two brothers and a friend of his. And the end result, they build a beautiful home for us that we still live in, mind you. So it's quite an interesting exercise.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Make a wonderful children's book.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you.
And it's funny how those children's, the books that we read as children and the rhythms of those words are so deeply in us, and that we deeply own them. I love that the house is a house that my dad built. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
It would be a great children's story, the house that Jack built, and then make it the house that your dad built. Or you built.
Yeah. Actually, the house that Jack built is a joke that they had, because when people would pass by on the street, they would be surprised at what kind of house is built by 4 people, literally 2 boys who were teenagers at the time, and 2 sort of middle-aged men. So the joke was the house that Jack built. So that's sort of the joke about it. But I think a more personal title will come. I was just telling the group that as a children's book, it will get into the literacy of the construction side, which many children don't necessarily come across, of cement and bricks and, mampar bricks and all this rhetoric that goes on, but also numbers and seasons, because come winter, certain things would happen, come summer, come Sunday, certain things would happen, because they literally build it on weekends. So if Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the construction weekend, and my mom and I were tasked to prepare the meals. So breakfast and lunch was my mom's duty. So it was a whole family activity.
And what did the house look like?
You know what? It's a beautiful double-story house, Tuscan style. So at a certain point when it rains, I'll get pissed off, because I'm like, why is it raining? They need to finish up. I want to move in. And this is back in the day. Those who are from the townships, they would know 4-roomed houses. So we lived in a typical 4-roomed house, where it was a little bit squishy squashy, but it was our home and we were comfortable. So the excitement of this house was really larger than life for me, especially. But when I saw the walls coming up, I remember when they brought the ceiling guy, I'm like, dude, you need to finish up. We need to move in. But I remember when we were about to move in, there was not the big climax. It was just we moving in. And because I was a child at the time, I was not necessarily informed that we're going to say bye to the neighbors and move out. We literally moved on one day when I didn't know what was happening. It was like, pack your stuff, we're going. And we moved into the house, and things were not perfect, but it got perfected with time, and things gradually came together. But it was an interesting journey up to this day.
I think you've got a beautiful story there. Write it. Absolutely write it.
Wow, thank you.
So last 5 minutes, my group. Who would like to read something?
Thanks, Vina.
Thank you, Lerato.
So anyone else from your group, Lerato?
I think Janine would want to read something.
Okay. So I grabbed something because I had come in a bit late, so I was trying to catch up, and you were talking about a train, Pamela, and so it sparked a memory. It was my first time on a train. My mother had taken us to a wedding in Verulam on a train, and it was outside. It was a different culture, so it was a very new experience for us. Basmati rice lined the tables. Pops of ilachi and cinnamon escorted the biryani dish out in bowls, followed by bright grated carrots. Voices rushed. They served with smiles. Chicken or beef? They served with rushed smiles, beg your pardon. Chicken, beef, sour milk, to the clanking of plates. The first bite of soji, sprinkled with almond flakes, the good stuff. Cream and butter melted with ease and welcome pleasure. I pause as if reflecting before the next bite.
Yum.
Lovely.
Thank you for that. It's breakfast time. Very, very, very lovely. We've got exactly 5 minutes left. So from my group, who would like, you all read beautiful things. We didn't hear from Kgaogelo, but yes, Kgaogelo, did you write anything? You have to unmute.
Yeah.
Of course, I've written something. Unfortunately. Okay, let me try reading. Okay, so here's what I've written. Okay, so I've written a story about Konto. So it's more of story.
Sorry, Kgaogelo, you've frozen. I'm afraid we've only got 3 minutes left. So someone else from my group, are you willing to share anything? How about Aisha? Because I think you didn't have much chance to read your rather lovely one. Sorry, Kgaogelo, because I'm afraid that one's frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm wafted away on a wave of nostalgia for the lazy days and camaraderie of those far-off Decembers, the scent of coffee biscuits from the farmhouse kitchen, mingling with the acrid sting of fertilizer in the orchard, and the babble of myriad voices from the Kwasiza Bantu call office, tucked into one corner of the large general store. What did those callers waiting in line to use the phone speak about? Who were they calling? Boyfriends and husbands gone off to work in the mines in far-off Egoli? Daughters and sisters seeking domestic employment in the big cities of Stanger and Durban? Hello! Hello! Unjani Tembisile? The heavily turbaned old woman holding the toddler yells from her cubicle in the call office, much to the exasperation of the smartly dressed adolescent in the next cubicle, speaking in the carefully modulated English taught at the nearby mission school. Yebo, I'm studying very hard, Babamkulu. I bought my books with the money you sent for my birthday. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Thank you very much. Her tone rising as the end of her sentence is drowned out by the shouty old gogo next door. Did the old lady, what did the old lady who shouted loudly into the mouthpiece believe? That the louder she shouted, the easier it would be for her callie to hear her? On pension days, many of them would carefully divide their monies. One set for the essentials they'd need to see them and the grandkids through the month. The rest for non-food and clothing items, such as phone calls.
Oh, beautiful, Isha. Thank you. I've really felt like I was there for that. I could see that happening. It was wonderfully written. Mhm.
And amazing in such a short space of time too. Ah. I think we've sort of run out of time, but that was really lovely. Thank you all so very, very much, because that's so many different places we've just been to. So not quite sure how to end this, apart from the fact that it's fun to follow one's imagination and not try too hard and see what's happening, because there's obviously so many places in our heads that are waiting and perhaps listening to us and have things to say.
Thank you for this. It's been really, really helpful and really a really interesting journey. So thanks, Pamela. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, because we prepared
you.
something, didn't know what was going to happen. But what happened with all these lovely, lovely paths, all these lovely, lovely textures, these wonderful things that happened, like Jack's house. Yes.
Flavors.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with Melanie. I also always feel like I need lots of time to write, but this one doesn't. Thank you, Pamela.
No, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all for writing, and thank you for sharing such lovely, tasty breakfast. Interesting things to do that. Very nice to meet you all briefly. Yeah. So I think we're at 10. Okay, lovely. There's the writing center with Laurie. Good.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.